Yeah. I thought it
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Snorri Valleys Council meeting Thursday, the 21st of August. We have no one for the public forum. So first, I would like to acknowledge Snorri Valleys Council proudly acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of land and water, pays respects to the elders past and present. So we have no apologies, leave absence, but we do have just a few more things I need to say. This meeting is being live streamed on Council's website to allow the community to follow Council debates and decisions. Members of the public participating in a meeting agree to have their image, voice, and personal information, including name and address, recorded and publicly broadcast. Snorri Valleys Council does not accept any liability for defamatory remarks or inappropriate comment that may be made during the course of the meeting. Any part of the meeting that is held in closed session will not be strict. Councillors are reminded of the oath or affirmation of office they made under section 2A of the Local Government Act 1990 and the obligation under Council's Code of Conduct to disclose and appropriately manage conflicts of interest. Please ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or are in silent mode for the duration of the meeting, and no recording of voice or images is permitted by mobile phones or other electronic devices while in the room. In the event of emergency, please evacuate the building using the nearest exit and follow the instructions by warnings. Do not use the lift. If participating in the meeting from an alternate venue, please enact the evacuation of that location. So we do have one application for remote attendance from Grant Councillor Hardy. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by all those in favour. Thank you very much for that. And pecuniary interest, I had one from the acting general manager, disability. She has declared a non-pecuniary significant interest in relation to 13.2 due to neighbourly property and relative cost supply, and she will leave the room during this. Moving on to confirmation of minutes. Councillor Thompson.
Oh, no, I've got a question about the minute.
We still need someone to move it on. Seconded by Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Thompson, do you want to speak to that? No, that's not
Yes, 11.2. The HumeLink Community Investment Benefits. Number I, the Adelong Caravan Park accommodation upgrade. Surely with that added to the original resolution, it should have been an amendment. Because it wasn't on the original resolution. So it should be an amendment. I think Councillor Hayes actually put it up that it be added. So surely that should have been an amendment.
Not if it wasn't moved as a motion previously, if it was just added to the wording, it's just
accepted by the second one.
I can't.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. I'll have to go back and check the live stream, to be honest. Yeah, but that's correct. If it was accepted by the mover in particular, that item could have been added to that motion.
The reason I ask that because I think you listen to it, Councillor Hayes, forward and Councillor Wood second. Afterwards, that's why I asked him. Well, whatever, yeah.
yeah, I think that.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So it's just,
Thank you, Councillor Sheldon. Acting general manager will go back.
I think that's about all.
So do we have moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Sheldon, all those in favour? Unanimous. Next up, the mayoral minute, 7.5 is a mayoral minute about the inadequacies of the current Tubberubba station and have 6 recommendations there. Basically, for over 15 years, and probably before, the police have been concerned about the facilities at the top of the police station. It's, from my understanding, there is money available to update or redevelop police stations if you get on the list. So with this, if we can get it on the list, then in time it will cover up and be redeveloped. So I move that. Do I have a second? Councillor Hayes? I don't think so. Okay. But it's nice to have your support, Councillor Hayes. Anyone, Councillor Hayes, do you want to speak?
Yes, I would. This has been an ongoing issue for the Tumbarumba Police, and I remember taking a police minister through there years ago in my time as mayor, and I'm unsure why it wasn't this then. So it's been sort of toilet facilities are second rate, and the police are all just just squeezed in. It's atrocious conditions for people to be operating in, especially people with a job that's government employed. So I commend you on doing this, and hope you get something done in the near future.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, Councillor.
I just advocate that if they do replace it, they replace it like and we don't end up with a shipping container with a couple of flat on the side like we have down at Adelaide.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Councillor. Thank you. I didn't realise that.
That cost $1 million, councillor.
Okay, all those in favour? Yeah, thank you. Second mayoral minute is about the Southern New South Wales drought. It's basically to say that it happened. Can I just say, councillors, thank you. So many of you were supportive of this in different ways. And my particular thank today, the follow-up by the councillor, by the Honourable Ryan Hunt, Minister for Local Government, Ryan Hunt. And he's spending 3 hours today going around just talking to producers about what a green belt is and what impact it's having on our area. It's tough for us around this unlong humid area, but down at the Upper Bay, it's at a critical time. Anyone want to say?
In relation.
Yeah.
And knowing what the state conferences and even the national conferences and looking at a national drought policy, I don't think it needs to be exclusive to Southern New South Wales. I think the drought is drought, irrespective of it's just in our patch. And I think to remove southern voices from affected landowners, to take out Southern New South Wales, because it brings it down too specifically just to our region, and that's not what state and federal policies are all about.
And you can be sure that they will be implemented.
Yeah, so
I'm very happy with that.
Oh, is that?
I'm just mentioning it and the mayor can take it out.
Yes. Okay. Thanks again, councillors. All those in favour? And it's, sorry, mayoral minute not here is, so 7.3 is to thank the Honourable Ryan Honey, Minister for Local Government, for visiting today. Accept and thank the Boundaries Commission for their report and unanimous recommendation. And then follow the Minister's order to proceed to a constitutional referendum in Snowy Valley Council within 12 months. Would anyone like to talk about what happened this morning?
I'm happy. Madam Mayor, I do think that it was wonderful that the minister came down and took the effort to meet with yourself and the general manager, and then made the announcement, but also took the time following that to actually sit with councillors and talk about the issues that we raised. And the point that I think you made very, very clearly to all of us is that democracy is the absolute priority in all of this. So this is up now the responsibility of the elected representatives, not only to go forward to the referendum or the constitutional referendum, but to also look plans that are required and the implementation, should that referendum be affirmative. He also made it very clear to those here today that this is the final opportunity to have a say on the future of a merged or amalgamated or a de-amalgamated local government area. So the absolute most important thing is for our community to understand it's compulsory to vote at the referendum. And if they really have a strong opinion, they need to use that vote wisely, because any non-vote is a vote in the negative. So people really need to understand that if they want to have an input and have a say as to the future of where they are, they need to vote. Thank you.
Councillor Sheldon and then Councillor.
I am actually quite pleased that he's actually put the onus back on the councillors. Might sound funny. But we've got to really drill down into the business plan and the finances, instead of just a lot of times we get a consultant's report, give it a tick and flick. I think it, you know, what is it? Something, the path is in our own destiny.
Councillor Pepper.
The one note of sort of not cold water being one of the things we weren't potentially expecting from the minutes of the day was a matter of $5 million. Previously, we've been potentially led to believe it was going to be $5 million on the table to help with the if the referendum went through and we did pick to de-merge, to de-amalgamate, there was going to be $5 million on the table. The minutes of the day seemed to be my interpretation. I think most of you are nodding and agreeing that quite possibly that $5 million isn't on the table. And so if we do de-amalgamate, the cost has to be from within the rate base of current Snowy Valley Council in one way or another.
It's a big risk.
That's different element.
Councillor Long.
Well, look, I've got to say I was a little bit disappointed, to be completely honest, in relation to what happened. I think the whole process has been, you know, ridiculous from the start. We've had the Boundaries Commission that basically has been a government-paid junket for people in local government to go around and stay in hotel rooms and interview people. For what? I mean, at the end of the day, they were going to come to this conclusion anyway, because the minister had to essentially, you know, make good on their promise to have this referendum, but it's set up for failure. That's reality. There's no money attached to it. They're happy to spend $3.8 million on a white elephant out at the airport to have a helicopter one day a year, but he won't put $5 million into actually making this a viable option for two communities. I mean, I just don't get it. I think it's very disingenuous. I mean, he talked about $21 million. It's probably $21 million worth of bullshit. So, you know, these politicians are in fairyland. I don't know how they even get elected. And he didn't inspire me today, I've got to say. And I think that, you know, it's going to be very difficult to sell this to the community now, because, you know, they're going to see it for what it is. They're going to say, well, it's going to cost more. Where's the money coming from? We can't even pay the wages of the staff from the money we take on rates. So how does he think that you're going to be able to pay for all this?
Thank you, Councillor Long. Councillor.
Sorry.
Up to you, though.
Well,
Once I just wanted to let him know, and then I'll just, I can quickly.
sorry,
because-
he's only another question or clarification.
Just robust on that topic, the merger or de-amalgamation. I spoke with Mr. Whitworth from the OLG yesterday about another matter, and he said somewhat gratuitously, because it wasn't a matter that we were discussing, that he thought, words he used were that he strongly recommends that we include our business case on the website and implementation. So perhaps either you, Madam Mayor, and or the General Manager might take that up.
It is on the website, the implementation.
Well, he seemed to think it was.
It is. I
Yeah,
looked at it yesterday.
Yeah, yeah.
I went up yesterday.
Was up there yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Right, the council.
I didn't check.
Yeah, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Ingress. Yes, the council has all the plans on the website, so the sort of deamalgamation implementation plan, financial sustainability plan, and the big system, they've been there.
Well, that's comforting. And perhaps you might just confirm with him that he's happy with what's there.
But in all honesty, councillor Inglis, I found it hard to find. I think we sort of like need to look at that and just say, this is what you need to go, because all the past papers are with it too. And unless you look at all the amalgamation, not the merger. implementation.
He may have missed it. I just thought I'd raise it. He raised it.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the minister for coming down and delivering his verdict. At least we know now where we're going to, which is the referendum. And like Councillor Packard said that the $5 million will not be on the table from what he was saying, which means this cost is going to have to be borne by the ratepayer. And I think we need to stress to the people of Chairman Enfield run with it. We're not going to be better off financially as a council if we separate as a demerged council. I think we can all agree that 2016, when they merged the council, was a mistake. We have to look at the council in 2025, which is where we are now. And we have to look at the finances. We have to weigh up what is the best option for the people of these communities, because there's multiple communities involved. And we need to be able to tell the ratepayer easy to understand, and because you look at a feasibility study and might say all these figures, but you know, it takes a lot to go through all that and figure out how it's going to affect you as a ratepayer. People lead busy lives, so we as councillors, council need to deliver that information to them, which is why we need to have a business plan or business case.
I'll get the acting general manager to speak to them.
What's
No, I don't like,
A business case for the public to understand the implications of a demerged council.
So through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor, our council has had a comprehensive deamalgamation implementation plan, plus financial sustainability plans. I think what where council's heading is council essentially will come up with some information to the community that's going to be quite succinct because there is thousands of pages in those sort of documents. So that's sort of something that council will be working on over the next couple of months.
and just to clarify what the minister said, he didn't say no to the grant. Didn't say yes either, and I do want to just say that he said.
It won't be his
He was,
it won't be his decision. It'll have to go to Treasury. They'll buy the funding.
but that's very true. Councillor Shelby, question or
Clarification, please. Through you, Madam Mayor, General Manager. When we did all the prior business case studies and long-term financial implications, it was suggested that council, both the new councils that we emerged, required $1 million to start with, should have a slush fund of $1 million, then plus $5 million. So it's not $5 million, it's over $7 million that somehow we're going to have to find for our rate.
well, my reading of the paper is we need four.
On it, you go back to the prior general manager,
Skin in the game to.
$1 million for each council.
Councillor.
Personally, councils don't have slush funds.
Not this one.
Secondly, I think the mayor's right. The minister didn't say no to the grants. I think we need to have a lot more faith in our local member, Dr. Jeremy Gerd, and his ability. And I think the mayor will need to hone her negotiation skills to get a little bit more out of it. But I think this is a great step forward, and I look forward to the referendum. And I hope that we get a positive result in the referendum and the option to do.
Well, thank you, councillor, everyone. For having a statement on it, and I appreciate that it's been 9.5 years. And once again, I think it's been very hard on the community, but once again, I would like to thank Surrey Valleys Council of all that they've done in an environment that has always been remade. So my appreciation. Okay, all those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, 8.1, motion of prosecuting in Adelaide of councillor Hayes. There's one recommendation there. Moved by councillor Lard, seconded by, moved by councillor Hayes, seconded by councillor Lard, councillor Hayes.
Thank you. Look, there's been a lot of people coming to me and saying what's happening in Adelon Creek. And what is happening in the Adelon Creek is that a lot of people are going there because they're a gold. And gold is worth a serious amount of money at the moment. Now, in Adelon, we love coming to the creek and panning and then going and buying a coffee and an ice cream or whatever they do. That's fantastic. But what we don't like is people coming and digging huge holes in the creek and using illegal methods and diverting the creek and undermining the banks and generally making a mess and leaving a mess when they go. So what this proposes to do is that we get all the all these stakeholders together in one room and work out an action plan, which way to go, and a little bit more. That's all it is. It's an initial step, and hopefully we can get some results from it, and the environment will be better looked after, and everyone will be a winner.
Okay, all those in favour? Well done. And the second motion from councillor James Hayes, amendment to clauses 4.2B and 4.2C of the Human LEP 2012.
Look, thank you. This might be quite
And it's councillor Wills.
quite simple. So basically, it's all about language, and as a lot of people around the room would understand, you know, language can be interpreted in different ways. Now, my understanding of language is that it basically breaks into three parts. You've got your graphophonic, which is the way it looks and sounds. You've got your syntactic, is the way it's put together. And then you have semantic, which is your interpretation of the words. Now, as personnel change through an organisation, the interpretation changes as well. And this is what's happened with the Snowy Valleys. We brought something in originally to assist in boundary adjustments, which were basically active on some of these. And it went along reasonably well, and then we've changed and we moved, and now suddenly what was okay then, it's not okay now. Now that's okay. What this proposes to do is to just change a word, and that is change the word from adjustment to change, which I think is an administrative amendment, which is quite simple, and we have done administrative amendments in the last term of council. So it's nothing new. So we're going to change from adjustment to change, simply to try and make it sensible. As I said the other day when one came up, it does make sense, but according to what's presented to us, it's not allowed. Now, it possibly would have been allowed under the previous council, probably, possibly would have, and we did approve some the same as that, or similar. So I'm just trying to make it simple by just changing that one word so it can be interpreted in a different way, and it would be just, instead of saying subdivision, it would be boundary adjustment. So I'm saying boundary adjustment rather than subdivision of land, and the word adjustment to change.
Okay, you'd like the acting general manager to make sure there's a report on.
Yes.
seek clarification, speaking for or against it. Through you, Madam Mayor, just possibly to the planner in the room. I have two queries. Is it as simple as changing a word? And if not, what would be required to progress that and how much would it cost council to go through that? And the other question that I have is based on this morning with the minister coming and declaring that we can go or that we're going to a referendum, can we change anything within our LEP, DCPs, any of that? So what are the legal ramifications for us to progress with any of this after today's announcement?
Through the chair. So in terms of LEP through amendments, the correct process which needs to be followed whether they're minor or major is still a planning proposal, has to be prepared. So the planning proposal will set out the administrative changes that are required under the Environment Planning Instrument. That planning proposal is then presented to a meeting of council. Council either adopts or doesn't adopt that planning proposal. If it is adopted, it will go through to the Department of Planning to what they call a gateway process. The department will assess that planning proposal. If a gateway is issued, it provides council with the ability to then instructions on public exhibition, timeframes for public exhibition, and also any government agencies that have to be considered as part of that planning proposal process. Once the public exhibition and the consultation with government agencies is completed, council staff have to take into account any of those submissions, provide a report back to council, and then council can either choose to adopt or to not proceed with the planning proposal. It then goes off to the Department of Planning to the Parliamentary Council for finalisation. And that's assuming that all those steps in the process are all supported by both the council and also the department. In terms of cost, generation of planning proposals can cost anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 to undertake them. But we'd also have to probably get some advice from not only the Department of Planning, but also Parliamentary Council on whether that change can occur to the LEP. So we want to probably get that advice prior to actually preparing the planning proposal so that we're wasting.
Councillor Shin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on memory, I think I could be wrong, but Councillor Inglis alluded to the point that now we're in this mode, we thought no changes can be made to the LEP or CP until after referendum. The other thing that concerns me, and I don't know, but I would be very concerned with 5 of us landholders sitting in this room making a decision on boundary adjustments. I really would, because to me, I would be concerned with the conflict of kingdom. That's well, potentially.
I was only indicating my understanding through you, Madam Mayor, that we've been assisted as to what restrictions are on as a result of today's decision.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to councillors. So there is a number of restrictions in the legislation at the moment in terms of the entity amalgamation and holding of the referendum. One of them being a council cannot amend its LEP while it's in that sort of referendum mode. And there are others, I can't recall off the top of my head, I'll have to triple check, but one of them is LEP amendments. So we can't really do anything anyway until after the referendum is completed. But as council knows, just from a holistic point of view, that the LEP does need to be addressed. And we were waiting for the amalgamation sort of decision come to a conclusion before we to do that.
So just to clarify, Madam Mayor, it's not as simple as changing a word. That's not, you can't just change a word, you will change a couple of words.
Through the chair, there is a gateway process that has to be followed for any LEP amendments. Now, at the end of the day, councillors could choose to try and do this as a single process, or we could do it as part of a consolidated, comprehensive LEP process. But again, there's longer timeframes involved in it. So,
Councillor Peckham.
From what we've been told, we can't do that.
That's correct. So should the next line be, you know, contingent upon the result of referendum,
Post.
post referendum? Something.
I think it should be revisited once we know the
Yeah.
result.
Because these are last resolutions.
Councillor Hayes.
I don't think, listening to the minister this morning, I don't think it's his intention at any stage to disrupt the general function of council because of the referendum. So that was my pick up from today from him. So you know there may be other options, but this is just an attempt to improve things for our community and to find ways to get something going. I know there was a conference in Canberra about this very thing, and you know it'd be great to see it. I don't think just response to Councillor Sheldon saying that he is a property owner. I don't think that's probably, you know, he if he likes, but I don't think it is, because otherwise every time we talk about a road, we'd be all walking out of the room because we all drove it and those sort of things. So you know, I think that's probably not necessary. So anyhow, there it is. So it's an offer. I don't think it needs the addition that Councillor Packer talked about, because if we can't do it, we can't do it. But you know, if we put this up and it passes, it will sit there until such time as we know the outcome of the referendum.
So speak against. We've had discussion, but I'll speak against, and if we,
Oh, I think
Oh, so
the
it's closed,
is
right?
just closed.
but we haven't had a speaker against. We had clarifications, but no speaker against.
I'll just close the vote.
I think some of those items have been against if you can. accept them.
If it's illegal, we can't.
Do it, yeah.
It's done. Okay, all those in favour?
Yes.
So, okay, so we have Packard, Hayes, Larder. Worth. Against. English. Sheldon. Watson. It's not in.
Thank you.
Hayes. That takes us to point nine, without notice. 10.1. On page 39, the council resolution action report. Do I have any? Councillor Packard, seconded Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Packard,
No, I have nothing to mention.
Councillor Sheldon.
I have, as I raised, page 43. You want to go back over the minutes and the motion of date that the EOI came up. There was no due date on it when I checked.
Are
the
you looking at
minutes.
11.1?
Yes.
11.1, yeah. About the multi-purpose and evacuation.
The expression of interest on page 43. It has a due date of the 31st of the 5th, 2026. There was a resolution to council in June. It was in the minutes in July without a date on it. The resolution date. Now, my question is, if council has come up with a resolution and agreed with the resolution, surely there should be a date on it.
So, for you, Madam Councillor Sheldon, so yes, that was a resolution of council. So what this report does is it tracks sort of resolutions that have to come back to council or need actioning. And what we're saying is by May next year, that council would have called for expressions of interest.
That's where I have the concern that the councillors had no input on that due date. When it was our resolution that agreed on the recommendation to have the expression of interest put out.
Yeah, so that's up to
So-
council staff, so that was the resolution passed by council. And expressions of interest need to go out before obviously the building's up and running, so that's what.
Well, that begs another question, was I think a lot of us around here understood that the expression of interest would have gone out much earlier on. If we go through minutes and we go through.
Yes, so that's the, sorry to interrupt, that's the plan, that is the absolute latest date
Has to be.
that it has to be completed by. So it might be before that, but it can't be after that, so that's what that sort of due date is.
Well, I have concerns that it's too late. And we council didn't vote.
And you can take it on board. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I share a similar concern to the one that councillor Sheldon has raised, and that is that if the date have to get that expressions of interest is not until the 31st. How do we include in our budget 26-27 any fund that's going to be required for the ongoing centre if there's not a way forward that it can be fairly cost neutral? So the concern that I have is that we're building without any understanding of how it's actually going to be funded to be run, managed, maintained. And how do we include it in the budget for 26-27 when we don't have any idea what those costs would be? That's my concern.
So, and I'll get the director subject to correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is we would go out for expression of interest end of this year, early next year. That report comes to council, but the absolute latest that happens would be made. The plan is to do it before. So we put like a realistic sort of deadline saying before it's open, that is the absolute latest that has to be. But yeah, that would happen.
Councillor Inglis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My clear recollection is that we were told in meeting that various sporting bodies, and I think it was also confirmed in email, and other community or community participants or organisations were being approached for expressions of interest. Indoor cricket was mentioned, pickleball was mentioned, and a couple of others. Does that just cease? No longer happening? Because that's what we were told.
No, so as part of the process, so it's open and transparent, those groups are interested, but we have to go through this process of expressions of interest. So it's not like we're targeting those groups. They may be interested and they may be applying, but we have to go through an expressions of interest process. So it's open and transparent. Anyone else can apply.
Well, through you, Madam Mayor, is there anything in writing from any of these groups to say that they're interested? And if they're prepared to pay anything?
Through Madam Mayor, Councillor Angus, the EO will be public EO process, so those groups will see the EO under the moment and be able to apply. Council will also contact those groups and let them know that the EO is in the public domain and they're welcome to apply for it. So it will be publicly advertised through newspapers, websites, social media. People will have plenty of opportunity. Anyone and everyone will have plenty of opportunity to put in a submission to the ELI. On the timing, but I might just add that having the ELI come back and the outcome of the ELI come back to council on the 31st of May next year, then does give council the opportunity to have a look at the ELI and make any adjustments to its budget for the next financial year to include any costs associated with the ELI. So that's one of the reasons timing is such, is that there's no budget allocation this year because running the facility won't be happening this year because the project is being constructed. But coming in the next financial year, so the 26-27 financial year, we will make budget available for the operation of the facility, and that budget will be informed by the outcome of this ELI.
That doesn't answer the question. The question was, has there been any written response to expression?
We have been, sorry.
No, yeah, your answer is not.
Thank you.
So, sorry, just seeking a further clarification. We cannot set any fee or charge for use of the centre, which would need to go out for 28 days to be adopted prior to. So if we're not getting that back, then this council wouldn't receive a report on those expressions of interest until after that.
What we had at a later date that we'll get it. Not saying that you won't get one for the 31st May. So our intention is to get something back from the EOI process so you can put it into your next year's budget
And fees and charges.
in fees and charges or operating.
It'll be a user agreement.
Councillor Loder?
Just given the fact that this facility primarily or its predominant approved use is for an evacuation centre and would be used by state funded agencies, emergency aid during any time of disaster. Have we written to them or have we written to the state government and asked them whether they'll be providing any ongoing funding towards the management of that facility?
It sounds like something we could do.
Thank you.
Okay,
Just.
Well, sorry.
No,
I was going to close the debate.
I just wanted one clarification. So at present, there is no EOIs out marketplace. And so we are looking at building or passing today a tender application, nearly 13 or $12 million with no potential people in that. Simple yes or no will do. No.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So as you know, we have a draft operational plan and we've already got those costings, but we still need to go out there.
So we still got no one in that. We're still going, tender is going. No.
Yes, it hasn't been built yet.
No.
councillor Packer.
So just closing debate, talking about this one, my clear recollection as we talked about potential groups who may use it. And there was even talk about, I raised, so groups could actually form and incorporate to be specifically a group formed to manage it. So we're very much at the infancy in that process of going out seeking organisations to run it. I don't recall any time when we actually talked about having spoken directly with one group or another about the viability of them running it. Because we don't know who's going to come up with the successful operational tender or proposal. So May seems very late, but buildings don't tend to happen as quickly as one likes them to. So I would imagine that the chance of this building being finished in time, someone would want to be operating it early in the new financial year would be quite slim, based on experience with buildings. So I wouldn't be particularly concerned about that.
Okay, and now we'll vote on the recommendation is to vote the report on the council resolution action as at 2025. All those in favour? I think we've gone to the vote, councillor Young.
Well, I want to ask a question in relation to a couple of items, not related to the
It's
sports
been,
centre.
sorry, argument for them. Hello. No.
So we haven't voted.
Okay. I beg your pardon, councillor Young.
Just in relation to two items, one that's not there.
That's tricky, that one.
No.
One we can't really get much.
Well, I think we can. I can ask that question first, actually. It's in relation to an update on the airport, which should really be on there because it's not complete. And it would be good to get an update from Mitchell about where we're at in relation to the commissioning of the airport.
Out of the needs of general public, I think that is a very good.
So you, Madam Mayor, no, it's not a resolution of council, but I'm happy to out of school with you an update on the airport. So our intention is to, as you would have seen in the council newsletter, it's gone now is to do a soft opening of the airport by next Friday, 29th of August. There'll be no TAM for that. Be prepared and sent out early next week.
And in relation to 9.1, meeting with the RFS Commissioner,
I can give you some, I can give you feedback about that. We, acting general manager and I met during the week, and he said he's 5 weeks into the job. He's a bit distracted by all the floods happening up north. He's going to get down here as soon as he possibly can.
just in relation to that, can I just put it to council that it won't be too long, and in fact, my understanding is that possibly the next council meeting that the hangar proposal come back to the council. It would be ideal to seek the commissioner's input in relation to that before council makes any decision, because I believe the resolution that was passed in relation to the hangar was tethered to the RFS giving an undertaking that no contractors would be disadvantaged locally. Now,
Councillor Lowe, just to interrupt you, we have taken on board, you have said, we spoke very, very strongly about that. So he knows what we are concerned about.
so you hope you'll give a guarantee at the next meeting when that hangar proposal comes back?
He was very positive.
That he'll guarantee that nobody will be.
Well, he knew that that's what we were worried about, and in his mind, the way he spoke, he didn't think there would be a thing, but that's why he's coming down.
So I could take it from you, Madam Mayor, that if that's not here, then we defer it.
I can't speak for him.
No, but if he doesn't provide that, if he doesn't provide that guarantee or that undertaking that was tethered to the third part of that motion, then that would have to be deferred until he does.
Can't answer you, Councillor Hunt. Can't give you that
Could we
guarantee.
give some advice?
No,
So is your question around the commercial arrangements?
No, the resolution of council was that we gave approval for the hangar to proceed on the basis that the RFS gave an undertaking that no local operator would be disadvantaged. They haven't given that guarantee. So therefore,
so
one and
what we're
two
talking
lapsed.
to here is writing to the new RFS Commissioner, Trent Curtin, inviting him to visit Snowy Valleys Council properly to discuss the collaboration of Snowy Valleys Council with independent aviation operators and.
Yeah.
So that's.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that we still have not got an undertaking from the RFS as to whether the local operators are going to be disadvantaged by
But they can't
building.
say that because it's not their hangar, it's Snowy Valleys one. And I'm going to move on. Sorry, it's the Snowy Valleys, it is not the RFS.
Clarification, Madam Mayor. Surely then, when it comes to council, after taking on board what Councillor Lada had said, Councillor Lada would therefore put a deferral up or an amendment to the thing instead of approving the hangar, he could ask for it to be deferred until we receive notification from the RFS Commission.
Through, I have the chance, the hangar has been approved.
With respect, I think you get some legal advice on that because the RFS was approved on the basis.
This is, Madam Mayor, in relation to, this is the resolution that's before.
It's. And
No, the resolution is specifically that, it's not about stopping this and stopping that. So with the resolutions that are here is the business before us. So
And
what you're talking
45.
about are different motions and different resolutions which are a part of this report. So whenever you just.
So going back to that, Councillor, Packard, you moved
Yeah.
and you've closed. 10.1, all those in favour? Thompson, Packard, Hayes, Wood, Sheldon,
No, I'm not voting for it.
and Councillor Harwood, how you voting? Welcome. And Councillor Harwood. So yes, we've got Larty, Sheldon, Inglis. Thank you. Okay, which brings us now to 10.2. 2025 review and determination of executive leadership and functional structure, moved by councillor Thompson, seconded by councillor Packer. Councillor Thompson?
Madam Mayor, just very quickly, I think this new structure makes sense, and it's not a huge change from what we have, but the original structure of only having 2 directors directly under the acting general manager puts an incredible amount of workload onto one specific acting director, and I think that this is something going forward, and be mindful that while we're putting this leadership functional structure in place, it can actually be reviewed, but it's a big one going forward, especially with what we have coming up with the announcement from the minister today.
Councillor Shaw?
My only concern is that we've got 3 people at one level and only 2 of them are directors. Third one, I believe, the heart and soul of most businesses, no matter what we like to say, is how the cashier or whatever register goes in and out. We want to know the money. And it's an extremely important role being the chief financial controller or officer.
Thank you, noted. Councillor Hay?
Probably a statement. I noticed on page 48, 220.66 FTE. Now, there were 2, I think 5 years ago, there were 222. And then we had the last council, was the raise it to got rid of all these positions. Why are we at 220.66? How does that happen?
The acting general manager?
So you're just referring to that figure in the functional structure at the top?
Well, I assume it's correct.
So that was essentially the previous structure. So it's actually slightly lower. So that's
Right.
just got the.
Which I would assume.
Yeah,
And can you tell us what it is now?
Off the top of my head.
I
it
bet
is-
can you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Thompson, do you want to close?
No,
All those in favour? Councillor Martin?
No, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Everyone else? Which brings us to 10.4, councillors, and 10.3. 10.3, oh, delegations, sorry. Right, moved by councillor Thompson, seconded by councillor Packer. Councillor Thompson?
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's really, this is another one of these ones that has been done in conjunction with what is best practice across our state. It's not something just to go on our own. I think that it's really important to understand that there needs to be a level of understanding and trust between our elected representatives and our staff. And we also need to understand that there need to be these delegations in order, that we're not continually holding up decisions, waiting for either a meeting or an extraordinary meeting. So I don't see anything out of anomalies. And
Councillor Packer?
I just want to have clarified that we statutorily have to do these delegations. And decided. And that they've been busy with each term of council, and is that correct?
Yes, we have to get.
Councillor Sheldon?
My only concern is the debt write-off for 20,000. I think that could be a bit high, but that's my own personal opinion.
Councillor Hayes?
Well, at the last council meeting, we had a debt write-off that came to us for 10 cents, which we diligently did and wrote it off. But I think the only thing I'd like to, if there's anything here that's could come and surprise us, I think it'd be nice if the general manager could let us know what has been delegated at any stage. So we're just not surprised by things we go, oh, I didn't realise. So anything that might be controversial or, well, I assume that anything controversial, you would say, the general manager would say, that maybe should be the council, but I just, surprises are good on your birthday, but they're not so good, at other
It's a special day today, councillor Hayes, isn't it?
Thank you.
Councillor Thompson, do you want to close that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very quickly, my understanding is that even though the delegations are there to be able to run it off, we still receive a report back to council identifying that and notifying us as the elected body or any of that. The other thing that, just in relation to the report, the comment here is administrative powers and it's designed to enable the elected council to concentrate and focus on the policy development and strategic area of the council. And I think sometimes we need to remember that that is our key role. And as much as we'd all like to micromanage everything, because that's the nature of who we are and why we got our council, but to understand that policy development and strategic areas is really what we need to be focusing on.
All those in favour? Unanimous. Now, councillors, we're up to 10.4, and at this stage, we're wondering how councillors feel by moving by section 10.4, 10.5, 10.6, and 10.7. 10.4 being the attendance at the local government New South Wales Rural Summit on the 8th of May. 10.6 attendance at the 2025 National General Assembly, 7th of June. 10.6, 2025 Re-Rock Media Training, 30th of July in August. 10.7, Council Training, September to 2025. And we're able to deal with these items by exception if everyone is going to be voting unanimously.
Madam Mayor, just in relation, I think in relation to 10.7,
What they're taking out.
no. 0.5 actually says approve the participation of any other councillors wishing to attend any. So it may be prudent to see if anybody wants to participate in any of those to include within the recommendation. Before we actually
Change that recommendation. Is there anyone
just
who
to
would like to?
I would indicate that I would like to attend the participate in the LGNSW Code of Conduct training course on the 24th of September.
Councillor Linders, if you could just look up on the board, you're happy with that?
Up there.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's going to be offered again.
Yes, they roll. Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy.
Sorry, you're happy to move it by exception?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Sheldon. All those in favour? Yes. Unanimous. Such achievements. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, now to 10.8. Proposed motion for the 2025 Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference, the 23rd and 25th of November. Do I have a move? Councillor Sheldon. Seconded by Councillor Packard. Councillor Sheldon.
Nothing to add.
Madam Mayor, can I just, in relation to point E, the safe traffic conditions form part of all council important conditions of consent for state projects. I want to be careful that we don't end up with a situation that we currently have, which is they go, oh, well, if it's unsafe, we'll just reduce the speed limit down to 60 k's an hour, which or 80 k's, they've done a long one down to accommodate HumeLink. I think before the approval goes in, our communities have the right to be consulted as to the impact of the increased traffic. As was noted, we are getting more and more renewable energy projects coming here, and every one of them seems to have 200 workers, and each worker has a vehicle. So our roads are becoming increasingly heavy good fit, but our roads are not being upgraded to accommodate overtaking, passing, or even turning lanes, but they are putting up more. So I'm just concerned that while we talk about safe traffic conditions, we don't want them just to look at safety by reducing the speed. They need to actually look at how they manage the road systems. Councillor Hurst.
You can be too safe, because coming backwards and forwards between Avalon and Tune, there are traffic lights there that are busy, that are operating, and there's nobody. And they're holding up traffic. You can only go one way when they're operating. And, you know, a cement truck might come in, I don't know, every now and then or something. But it just seems crazy, the amount of money that's being spent on traffic control for no reason. And, you know, I would much rather see a lot of that money go towards social license. Maybe they could be using the busy access road instead of having traffic control there coming in the back way. You know, there are other options, and I think they're being a little bit too safe.
I think we can talk to the project director.
Yeah.
I'd like to speak to the lasting legacy for communities impacted by energy projects. In particular, the awareness, I think everyone's aware here that the mayors from Vanderby to Wagga are all petitioning to get $10,000 per kilometre per year of the as an ongoing legacy payment. So it's still fighting that one. So indexed.
The license project.
I'm very for that.
Could you please repeat that $10,000 a kilometre?
Yeah. Per year. Indexed. So for Story Valley's council, be 1.2 million a year. I need to council to help. That's correct.
I think you're being very generous.
Yeah, indeed, but we are very aware that at the September 27th, these towers are going to be up. These people are all gone. We've got to have some ongoing legacy there.
When you consider it over $1 million per kilometre.
It's not much, is it?
No, good. Being very generous.
We'll have a legacy, but it will be negative.
Yeah.
We need a positive.
Okay. Want to close the poll? Councillor Sheldon? Okay. All those in favour? Unanimous. 10.9, proposed donation request for Tumbarumba Golf Club. Councillor Sheldon, get moved by Councillor Lardy. Councillor Sheldon.
Madam Mayor, I would like to speak against it.
Thank you.
We have a donation schedule and I don't believe anyone deserves any special treatment. I think the AGM Acting General Manager raised that the budget's well and truly been and the date's been adopted for the next financial year. And I suggest we write the Tumbarumba Golf Club and suggest that they join the queue. People seek donation from council.
I'll support it because they've come to me and talked to me about what financial difficulties they are and how they're trying to get the golf club up and going, and this would help them in time of financial stress. And they do realise that they should have asked for donation with a change of if they missed it. They certainly will apply next year. So ask a question. Anyone against?
Did they send any financials or anything to you know indicate how they're performing and what the situation is? I mean, because when we've had things from Tumut Golf Club previously, I mean, you know, they've been popular, and is this the case, or is it just that it'd be nice to have?
Through you, Mayor, Councillor, I would like to have all the chief from.
Well, can I just say that, you know, I think maybe they should come back to us with we're in a better case, rather than just giving up the money. I mean, I feel I'm happy to consider it, but I mean, I think we need to know why they need it.
Councillor Thompson?
Madam Mayor, the concern that I have is that, you know, there's an old saying that ignorance is no excuse. And while I think we all have empathy for everybody who's struggling financially, whether it's an organisation or whether it's a small business, council also needs to be incredibly mindful that we have a very tight budget that we're trying to work within at the moment. We reduced all of our other donations, including, as Councillor Hayes reminds us, time it is the university grants that we used to have available for our young people. So I think we need to put into perspective what it is that they're asking for, and the fact that, you know, I know we say it's only nearly $3,500, but it's money that at the moment council doesn't have discretionary money to just spend. So I think, you know, whether or not they put together a proposal and seek a lesser amount, not to the full, but we have so many people who asked us for grants and donations and sponsorship, and unfortunately we've had to say, sorry, we don't have the equity to be able to do that this year.
Anyone for? Want to close the debate?
Yes.
Yep. All those in favour? Larter, Hayes and Ham. Against is English, Words, Sheldon, Hardwick, Packard. Thank you. Okay, 10.10, review and approve of 2025-2026 revote. Councillor Sheldon, seconded. Councillor Packard, Councillor Sheldon.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, to the Acting General Manager, Chief Financial Officer, the 18.849, and I know it's part of a big parcel, but how will that impact on our overall financial statements, looking at not only this current year, but also previous year where we've carried it over from? The impact should be, you know, because I think we've saved some money, appreciation, and a few other things. So it's actually going to make last year's figures probably a little bit better than what we thought they were originally, and how much it will affect this coming year.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, that is correct. So in terms of the financial implications, we do have the carryovers of 18.8 million. We will of course have additional disbursement that will come out of the 2025-26 actuals, which we can budget 2.4 to 2.5%, which is approximately $500,000 cash utilization once this project's been finalized and capitalized. The other thing that you mentioned was the last year's FY 24-25 financial year. Because of the budget in last year's, it didn't include appreciation as such, but then that's 24-25 26 actuals. The other financial impact that I think is movement in the unrestricted or unrestricted cash as well. So before that it will be some of these items will be sitting in the reserves, so internal and external reserves. So those movements will be critical as well.
Critical,
Once this, yeah, correct, yeah. Once this projects have been completed, they will be
Through you, mate, to the Director of Infrastructure and Works, 20 million between carryovers and revotes seems like a large amount. Is this a normal thing? And the first year on capital this time, it seems a very large amount. Can you perhaps get some context to why it's turned out like this and what the impact is particularly on our work?
Through you, Madam Mayor, 18.8 million is a large amount, but the council must be aware that this year's capital work budget is a record budget. council. It was a total budget of close to $42 million actually. And when you include commitments and the actuals that we spent to date, we're looking at close to 33 million. Got to remember that of that 18.8 million, that doesn't include commitments. And so this is really quite an achievement for the council in that being able to undertake a record capital work spend last financial year, not changing or significantly changing the FTE structure at all, increasing workforce at all. It's been done using existing resources, existing staff resources. So it's a credit to the staff of the council that they've been able to achieve this record capital work spend without any increase in our overall operating costs for staff salaries and wages. It is underpinned too by a number of large projects, 2 large key projects which are in our capital works program, which previously haven't been in. So we have $13 million for the new multi-purpose centre. We also have $12 million for the Tumut aerodrome upgrade. So they're quite a significant chunk of that capital works program, which will be completed this financial year, this coming financial year, and next financial year. So that's the background. Carryover is larger than normal, but please remember that that carryover also includes commitments, which means those projects have started already.
Councillor Lotte.
I was just going to ask if we were able to differentiate there what percentage of those projects are state, federal government grants, and we used to get a report when I was on the board of Snowworks Services, which because there's obviously a bit of a benefit to us in so much as in some of these projects we're actually engaging our own people with state and federal money to do work, and we used to get a profit loss statement in relation to how those engagements worked out if we did work. Is it possible to actually see whether we're actually being profitable in-house in relation to those projects?
Chief Financial Officer.
Through you, Madam Mayor, it is possible. We'll just have to extract data and look at the grant funding and the reserves category.
Just to clarify, usually most of our capital works program is grant funded. I'd say between 80 and 85%, and the rest is the general fund. If you're talking about profit private work, that's something that council does track internally. So every private works job that council does, obviously needs to make profit, and that reporting is available.
But even those ones that probably aren't classified as private. So say for instance the airport where somebody external could have done the work, but we did it, we'll be able to just see what the income has been versus what it's costed.
Yeah.
That's all tracked, every project tracked within our ledger.
Councillor Thompson. Mine's a very quick one, and then because I see David, Councillor Sheldon going up now.
He's closing on.
No, so just in relation to you, Madam Mayor, to the Director of Infrastructure, you made the point that yes, it is a large carryover of funds and projects. Does this also mean that while the staff have been exceptional in what they've achieved in the previous time frame, is that there's a guarantee of a project that is available to our current workers and staff?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, that carryover is down. So there's those funds that have to be expended this financial year, guarantee that those staff have more than enough work to do this financial year to spend that money in the next financial year after that as well.
Councillor Harrison.
Thank you. Over the last year and a half, or maybe even longer, I've personally become an expert in construction of public toilets. I notice here that there is human hovel flowering dam toilet construction. and we've spent $2,239. How can you build a toilet for $18,256? And if you are successful in doing that, and getting a DA and an occupation certificate and all the rest of the things you need, who's going to look after it?
For you, Madam Mayor, so that is work that's been commissioned by Crown Lands for us to do on the human hobble track, and the sorts of toilets we construct out on the human hobble track are different to the toilets we construct in town. So it's not to the same level of
The one in Adelaide is very flash.
of finish, but there isn't any, like, say, connection to the stormwater or the sewer or electricity. These are drop toilets
Right.
out in the bush.
And do you have the same constraints with occupation certificates?
They're on Crown land, so it's under a different
So
authority and agency who's given us approval on Crown land as part of the human travel track to do this work. So they're the approval authority council.
Councillor Sure.
and looks after it? The-
And council does have an agreement with Crown lands to look after them, maintain.
So they pay us to look after it.
Yes,
That's, thank you.
Right, in closing, but clarification first, and I thank the director for the work and the CFO, but I look at the carry-on ones and I know the airport, but I can't seem to find the MEC on the graph.
For you, Madam Mayor, so it is included in twenty-five twenty-six budget in the actual budget discussion. This is your budget in 24-25 carried over 25-26.
Sorry, I thought the director said there was carryover from that in this year, so I do apologise. Those are.
All those in favour? 10.11, statements of investment, July 2025. Councillor Larter, Councillor Larter,
Happy with
happy with them?
number of questions from me, something unusual. I noticed that the monthly long term has dropped 1,700, 1.7 million. Reason for that, please. And I notice also we've got 24 million coming up maturity. What does they just roll over? And then also following on from last month, where you actually put really a critical alert up the potential of losing 250,000 to 500,000 by interest rate drops, where we're up with that.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it has reduced compared to last month. The cash position for the July month has reduced by 1.7 million. Main reasons for that is, of course, they're both main cash disbursements, excluding the employee costs. So we have a two aerodrome, which is 883K. This is out of the ones that is a big ticket item. Operationally, we've had 3 payrolls this July month, so 3 payrolls.
It's always standard.
Correct, yeah, but it is.
So that's interesting.
It is adding up to the main cash disbursements. We do have $24 million coming up, and the usual council practice, or as with the current investment policy, we do go through the authorized deposit institutions or the banking institutions that can provide us better interest rate, but with a higher rate as well. So sometimes A-class banking institutions will give less interest rates as opposed to triple B banking. So we would assess those risks combined and then reinvest the deposits. Usually council would prefer higher interest rates, and that is the strategy in terms of bringing those to deposits. The interest rate that or the interest revenue drop in that would be gradual, it will be straight away. So with the interest rates going down, whatever's coming up, whatever you're deposit, which you bring with a lesser interest rate That means there's revenue on the side, but it's not straight away one cut with 250K.
Like you said, that
Yeah, so that essentially is the key.
Councillor Packer.
Being internal optimist, of course, if interest rates have come down, the underlying inflation rate should be coming down too. The Reserve Bank to make that decision. So our cost structure should be shrinking or not increasing at the same rate as well. So I think it can look like it'll do the blue.
and it didn't do. And just
I'm an optimist.
Councillor Nutter. All those in favour? Unanimous. Excellent. Manager reports, 11.1, new lease, Forestry Corporation of New South Wales in the Riverina Highland Building Unit, page 87. Councillor Packer, Councillor Larger.
Sorry, I was going to make a slight change to
Sure.
what's being moved.
Yep.
That we decline their request, 5, decline the request to waive the security deposit, but accept the exclusion of the standard demolition clause.
You happy with that, Councillor Larger? Fine, Forestry Corporation. New South Wales. So it says decline Forestry Corporation New South Wales request to waive the artist standard security deposit finance for commercial lease and bond equipment to 3 month rent and council standard demolition clause this lease, but then was but.
I know, so, but
Delete.
but agree to remove council standard demolition clause.
Oh, and, okay. delete.
So giving the money, I think will not be out.
Okay. Would be,
It's only taking us one month.
and remove council standard demolition. Councillor Lane. Great. Okay.
I do just want to clarify something.
Are you happy?
No, I just want to point out, that this is a 5-year lease, which an option to renew for a further 3 years. Council's always looking for alternative income streams. This is a very strong social income stream, and it's a very good thing for council to have the means to do it.
Councillor Lane.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. Firstly, I just wanted to know where the car spots and allocated, the request of car spots. So are they underneath, or are they external, are they with the battery thing? Where are they?
If you go to the back of the, at the heads of the balloon, you'll see a map.
Page 9.
Page 28. Yes. Yeah, there it is. Two.
In the basement.
So that's,
They are underneath. Sorry, in answer to your question, yes, that's.
And then what's the impact for us in relation to that?
AGM.
Who's being dislodged?
The mayor,
Yeah.
The mayor never found a spot.
Through you, Mayor, that the extra, they've asked for extra spots in, but they've also asked for extra spots outside in the car park, which we can give them as well. But there's no change at this point to the number of spaces available to council, Rural Fire Service, RFS, and I think there's one for Department of Corrections. So there isn't any change with that. It's the spots outside.
Outside.
Yeah.
And obviously this is in relation to them now firming up the lease here as opposed to the fire control centre, which is up in the air. So does that now mean any bids that we've previously entered into are being null and void?
Through you, Madam Mayor, they've provided us with the new heads of the ground, which I'll be bringing to the next council meeting, which has all reference to forestry
With relation to the airport?
to the fire control centre. Yes, so in answer to your question, they are forestry, New South Wales are not moving out to the proposed new fire control centre at Tumut Aerodrome. That's now reflected in that heads of agreement, which has been amended since the last heads of agreement council resolved on in March 24. This is a new heads of agreement. You'll see that next council meeting. It's effectively the same heads of agreement, but all reference to forestry going out to aerodromes resorts.
And in relation to that, will there be any report which will identify other options for the airport? Because it, it may not be.
Very, very quickly, the heads of agreement has got some additional time bar clauses now in it, which state funding is withdrawn for the fire control centre. The agreement's null and void. If the fire control centre is not delivered within a reasonable time frame, the agreement's null and void, and council can resume the land for its own purposes. But we'll see that in the next report to council.
Yeah.
Look, I'd just like to comment that the forests, New South Wales have been, long-term and very, very valuable tenants. I'm not that certain that a bank guarantee of bond of 3 months is necessary. I think that's quite extreme, and I'd be happy to see that reduced to pay something, but I don't think that's. Did they have to pay that in previous?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, no, in our previous commercial leases, unfortunately, none of them had security deposits, so that's something that I've changed with all our leases, commercial leases, that there has to be some form of security, and which is standard.
Well, it hasn't been standard for us, but it's standard.
Everyone else is standard, so you rent your house, you pay a.
But it has brought some consternation.
No, I don't think it's fine.
Everyone about council. Okay, 11.2 on page 103. That's multi-purpose and evacuation centre project update 2025. Councillor Hayes, seconded by really Councillor Packard, Councillor Hayes. Any comments?
Yes, look, I'd like to thank the project manager for the work being done here. Thanks for the summary. It's good to see some movement eventually in the project. I know there's been some sort of controversy here and there, but I think at the end of the day, it'll be a wonderful 21st century building, and I look forward to seeing it open.
It's just some questions. So I do know that they were highlighted in the grant application. And I draw your attentions to 2 and 3. Local employment outcomes include apprenticeships and Indigenous employment opportunities through building and construction of the facility, and local employment outcomes through the ongoing management of the facility. I ask the director, Dr. Mitchell, if he can enlighten us that on the tender application, if it was raised in the tender application that there would be these employment outcomes as stated in the grant application.
Through you, Madam Mayor, when we go to discuss tender in confidential, you'll see there are notes around the recommended tenderer sourcing local contractors and local workforces. It's in the notes there. And obviously the operation of the facility going forward through an ELI process would be looking at using local people and local community groups and stakeholders to run the facility. So it has a lot of local in that regard and meeting the grant requirements.
Thank you.
Just wanted to ask if we're on track to finishing the project on time and whether there be any foreseeable hiccups that you guys can see.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we are indicating here, we do have a grant funding deadline of the end of this financial year, so 30 June 2026. We believe we're going to go into discussion about the tender report. You'll see the program that the builder has supplied, all the builders supplied the conforming program. So we got confidence out of the tender process when all builders submitted conforming programs, i.e. they could deliver the project by June 30, 2026, that this is achievable. None of them came back to us, which is, to be honest, quite unusual, and said your timeframe's unrealistic.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just not speaking for or against it, but just asking for a clarification. I note that it actually refers to provide design services during construction and also the concept design for the multi-purpose centre. The issue of concern that I have is that I'm aware that as councillors, our role is the procedural part of passing the resolutions and then handing that to the staff to carry out the operational aspect. I sometimes have a concern that there's a loss of interpretation between what we vote around the table and what is delivered in relation to design. And one of the things that I'm very concerned about is ensuring that the design of landscaping is actually what the majority of the community as a whole is looking for, considering that it's quite a contentious design or location of things. And I think that it really does need to include the community in how do they perceive that the ambience and the atmosphere, particularly in relation to landscaping within the park itself. And we are removed from all of that. It's almost like we get our reports, but we don't have the option to actually have a say in design factors or design options. So I'm just raising, I think that particularly around landscaping needs to be something that's done in consultation with our community.
Okay, councillor Hayes, do you want to close? All those in favour? One for our councillor Sheldon.
No, Councillor Thompson is in favour.
What do you? Speak my.
One for our councillor Sheldon. Sheldon. So we have no minutes of committee. So that brings us to 13, which is confidential. Comments that are going to be confidential. Moved by councillor Thompson, seconded by councillor Playground. When councillors participate in meetings remotely by audio visual link, they continue to be obliged to protect any confidential information considered at the meeting. When meetings are closed to public under section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993, councillors should ensure they participate in the meeting in a location where it cannot be seen or heard by anyone else. Councillor Hargreaves. Thank you. All those in favour to go to confidential?